So let's look at a sample agenda for our proposal presentation. So again, the time that I would allot for this is again going to be in that 1.5 to 2 hours range. So your last few interactions with discovery and proposal presentation and solution presentation, you're going to allot a good amount of time for these because you're going to be going through a lot of information, a lot of detail, asking a lot of questions, answering a lot of questions. And so, this is typically kind of my top out point. You're usually not going to spend more than 2 hours with a prospective customer in an individual meeting. A lot of times you might be just hitting this 1.5 hours, but you want to give yourself a good block of time to do the proposal presentation. The first part of your meeting, of course, is going to be to present the proposal. Now, the more that you present the proposal, I find that this component itself will typically take about 1 hour. If you're really dialed in and you know exactly what you're going to be saying in the entire conversation, again, it's going to take you probably 1 hour just to get through the document. Because each one of the sections of the document you're going to be talking about why you do that and what the process is, and maybe showing some visual examples. You're kind of jumping around. You're looking at the proposal, then some other stuff. So you want to probably allot about 1 hour for the proposal presentation. The next piece is going to be any kind of questions and clarification. Now, usually I find that while you're going through the proposal, it's a very interactive conversation. You're not just like telling your prospective customer, I'd like you to hold your questions to the end. You really want to invite them to have a conversation. And that's why this first part takes probably about 1 hour. But then once it's done, you want to actually open it up for questions and some clarifications if they have them at that point about the proposal. Something that's good to ask your prospect at this point is there anything that I did not include that we had previously talked about that I forgot? Or is there anything that you had been thinking about that I overlooked in the proposal? And this is a good opportunity to kind of catch those instances where maybe you overlooked something, or maybe you didn't think something was so important, and all of a sudden, now that it's not in writing, your prospective customer says that it is important to them. I've had instances where all of a sudden somebody says, well, we didn't talk about social media at all. Do you help with that? I go, oh, well, we hadn't really decided that you were interested in that, and it seemed that your budget wasn't enough or whatever, and then all of a sudden we're going back and adding a whole component to the proposal to solve that part of the need that they have. And then, of course, part of your clarifications is there anything that I included that shouldn't be in the proposal? So kind of reverse to the opportunity side of it is basically giving an opportunity to slash and burn items that are in the proposal. So again, that might have come up in just the proposal presentation. Let's say you included a blog, and really the prospect is like, I don't want a blog. I know I need one, but I'm not going to actually update one, and let's just go ahead and take that component out. So you want to give them an opportunity to remove portions of the proposal if it doesn't fit up with their needs. And then to close out this meeting, of course, we're going to basically schedule our next interaction. Now, there's 2 meetings that could be scheduled after a proposal presentation. One of them is going and doing a proposal Q&A. So once you actually present a proposal to somebody and you've walked them through it and you've told them everything about what you're going to do, at that time, of course, you're going to email them over a hard copy, a PDF of the proposal, or whatever format it's in. And so once you've done that, the next interaction might also be a proposal review meeting. So you don't want to leave this meeting especially, you do not want to leave this meeting going, I'll follow up with you next week. You want to, at this point in the meeting say, we've had a lot of material to go through, you've had a lot of, stuff thrown at you, you've had a lot of time to soak up all this information. I'd like to schedule a follow-up meeting with you where we can review any questions that you might have after you've had a chance to kind of read through the proposal on your own and talk with the other people that are involved at your company. So you're giving them an opportunity to basically review the proposal and come back to you with any questions. So you can either move to a proposal review stage, Or if the person gets through this proposal and they're just like really hot to move, then the other option is to go into a work plan meeting. So I'm not going to have an interaction that goes over the proposal review questions, because really, if you do that scheduled interaction, which is a very common one, a lot of times I would schedule a meeting to review the proposal again after the proposal presentation and go over any questions. Sometimes those meetings are only like 15 minutes because they had a specific question that got brought up. Like for instance, maybe after they sat down with the proposal, they didn't understand how SEO was going to affect their project, right? So they maybe came back and wanted to ask that simple question. So sometimes the proposal Q&A meeting that happens after this might only be 10 or 15 minutes. And in that meeting, you would still want to schedule your next interaction and go to the work plan. And the work plan meeting is really your kickoff meeting. And we'll get into that here in a little bit. We've got a whole interaction that's dedicated to that. But the work plan is really like, you're going to have a contract signed and a check delivered, and the client has decided to move forward. Again, it's definitely part of the buying process, because at this point you're like, we can either go review questions you have about the proposal, or we can actually dive in and start working on the project. And if they're not ready to work on the project, you schedule a meeting anyways to follow up with them to find out what their decision is. So at no point at this phase do you not schedule a meeting. It's just whether or not, it's kind of what meeting are you scheduling at this point. So I just want to make that clear, because there's kind of a few different options of where you go at this point, but it always comes down to scheduling that next interaction.